So for everybody that just showed up, we were talking about how Zap Info was acquired by Indeed. So if you're using that for any kind of profile extraction for CRM and integration, that's going to be going away, which is a little bit of a bummer.
Has anyone started looking at alternatives?
You know, yes. What we've been.
I asked Eric today about alternatives, and he's looking. He goes, there isn't something that does. Of course, he's looking at all the things that they do and stuff. But Phantom Buster, would that be?
Well, I've got one. So I'm still trying to decide what CRM I want to use for my business, and I have one of the sort of the final two I'm considering is Suite CRM, which is an open source one, and there actually is a tool going into that. But so there are some other things out there that lead what is it? Lead Finder or something like that. I'll find that, and it goes to some other various other platforms.
Lead Tool Pro is I've always had Lead Tool Pro. I've had it for a year, and I use it as a utility tool. And that's probably what I'll use in this situation. I can do a visit campaign to 1s, 2s, and 3s, and it'll scrape. It just won't append extra data in, but it's $197 a month. And
yeah. What I think we'll do is set up. I think we'll end up for the ad hoc stuff where when somebody asks for more info, so like our team will Slack it, put it in their Slack channel, and what I think I'll have them do is I'll have them grab the profile URL, add that to a Google Sheet. And I think what we'll do is we'll have the sheet trigger a Phantom, which will cloud-based grab all the profile fields, including the company domain, and then pass that back to a sheet that goes to the CRM. Since we work with a variety of CRMs, I feel like you just need to end up going to a sheet. And then yeah,
we have to batch it now. We get spoiled with Zap Info that here's a profile, I want it in right now. I think and there's going to be a weekly batch and then a visit campaign against that batch. It's going to put it into a Google Sheet. That's going to, I mean, it's damn.
Well, did anybody else get the Sales Navigator survey this week? So I got a Sales Navigator survey this week, and I basically told them, yes, it's super valuable for whatever it is that it's valuable for, but they were asking for feedback, and I basically told them, they asked what your favorite Sales Navigator feature is, and I said tags, and I basically told them, I said you all are completely not addressing the needs of small businesses, because small businesses don't use Microsoft Dynamics or Salesforce. And that was sort of my biggest complaint, was the lack of CRM support. And I said, basically, you either need to have Sales Navigator become a CRM, or you need to work with the CRMs that small businesses actually use.
Yeah.
So for what that's worth.
I heard rumors about 6 months ago that Sales Navigator or LinkedIn was coming out with a CRM product. And that was 6 months ago. I haven't heard anything about it since.
Well, therefore, they might have to shelf that for a little bit, since they just did a bunch of layoffs with everybody that's not paying for job posts anymore. They laid off like 10% of their staff. So I would imagine revenues are probably down. That might kick that can down the road a little bit.
Perhaps it's a new revenue source, so it could, on one hand, kick it down, down it. On the other hand, it's like, how are we going to make up for the recruiting side? We'll launch a CRM. It's over here on the shelf. We'll just take it out and use it.
Yeah. In the meantime, you just need to be able to, without copy pasting, send info to your CRM and like trigger a workflow or activity.
Well, being part of Microsoft, they've got the code. All they got to do is basically make a light edition of Dynamics.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'll use it if it comes out and it's affordable. But what do you guys do when someone wants to schedules a follow-up? What's one pain point for us is like when somebody expresses interest, we can add them to like a dedicated list that says they're interested. But then for yourself, your team, or whoever, to not let those people fall through the crack in like Q2, or they say follow up in like 2 or 3 weeks. What we do is we grab the link and we schedule it like in our project management software. Or if it's CRM, it can be a CRM. Is there an easier way to do that? Or is that about it right now? I hear crickets, so it's probably all there
Well,
is.
I was gonna tell, we use a CRM called Spiro. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with them, but they've got kind of an AI aspect to their, they call it an assistant. So as you have specific activities, it'll help set you a reminder at a certain time, a certain date based on that conversation. So we found that to be somewhat helpful. Now, I've got one sales guy that I'm dealing with, so trying to implement a lot of the tools that it offers is kind of a challenge, because CRMs and salespeople are sometimes like oil and water. But this was actually a CRM that our sales team actually brought to me and said,
Cool.
this is something we were interested in. So, and that came from a referral from another sales manager that I knew that brought it to his team. So he's kind of, so Scott, I don't know you personally, but that might be a product that you might look at. It's called Spiro, SPIRO.ai is the URL for it.
I just threw that in the chat. SPIRO.ai.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, maybe. Someone told me about Flexi CRM not long ago too. They were saying that it's a pretty good combo for, it's an affordable version of like HubSpot sales, where HubSpot sales to do email sequences, like not marketing email sequences, but like sales email sequences. It's like $400 a month. The jump is just crazy expensive. And so Flexi is probably comparable to like Infusionsoft and Keep, but I think it's like $75 a month, and they'll do both CRM plus sales email sequences.
Well, the other one that I'm down to considering is Bitrix 24. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Bitrix 24, but it's sort of an all-in-one. It's like Zoho, like Zoho is with like getting Zoho One, where they've got all this. They've got cloud storage and project management and collaboration and all that kind of stuff, and a pretty decent CRM system in there too. The big thing with them is that they don't price per user. So, and it's real affordable. I mean, it starts at, you can actually get started with it for free, but then they've got, you can, I think for about $150 a month, you can get like everything for everyone. And considering Zoho One is $50 a person, that's super affordable. If you've got a team, if you've got a team of 8 to 10 people, it'll make a big difference in the cost. It's been around. They've got 100,000 plus users. They're pretty.
Is it also a project management system? I'm looking at their website.
It is a project management system. Their main focuses are CRM and project management. They've got sort of a lot of other stuff around it too, but I'll drop that in there.
Yeah, could you toss the link in the chat? That'd be awesome.
But
I have a sale going on right now.
Yeah, and I also just found out that one of my VA teams is actually, that's the one that they've kind of really focused on too. So they've got they're a certified partner and have been doing some customization stuff for it too. So that may lead me that direction.
That's very cool. What is always a pain point for us is when somebody asks for like a demo or more info or to schedule a call, and they ask for that by email. I don't want to deal with the follow-ups to people that ghost you, right? It just happens. And so to be able to use a sequence where if they don't book a meeting after like 2 days to send a reminder to grab a time is so insanely worth the money. So does the Bitrix 24, does that do email sequence like that, do you know?
Yes.
Cool.
It has autoresponders, and it's also got webhooks and Zapier and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Stuff too. So yeah, they're based out of India. They're pretty well established, but they just haven't gotten the traction here in the US really much for whatever reason.
Cool.
Well, I know I've done a whole bunch of research for project management systems and they never showed up. So even if that's one of the main things that they do, they're not doing a good job with their marketing.
Yeah.
Well, I used to use a system called ProsperWorks, and it got renamed to something else, and it was super integrated with Gmail and Google Calendar and stuff. And I moved off to Pipedrive for some reason. I'm primarily using Pipedrive, but I think integration with my calendar and with my native email system is something that is high value to me. That's my communication and mechanism and stuff. And you know, the more something integrates with those two, the more it is to me and the folks I know about. When am I going to send my next email? When did that communication come in? But nothing is really bringing LinkedIn and email together, and that's the sweet spot. We want the combination. Here's my box, and I could send an LinkedIn email message or a LinkedIn message, or they could come in one way and go out the other.
Yeah, and by the way, everyone, Mike and I are working on this with our mutual client, and he's using Zoho CRM, and we've got a pretty smart Zoho guy working with us on that too. So we're trying to figure all that out. So if and when we figure out the solution, we'll come back and share it.
Well, please do.
One thing that we do is when we're bringing the leads information into the CRM, we bring in both the profile link and the message URL so that we can, from the CRM, either send an email or just open a new tab and send a message directly as well. You can't send the message, the LinkedIn message from the CRM, but you can open a tab and do it that way pretty quick as well.
But there's some things that Zapier actually has more actions in LinkedIn than it does triggers, and you can actually use Zapier to do you can send LinkedIn messages through Zapier.
Really?
Triggered out of CRM. So I haven't tried it, but when I was looking at if you look up like Zoho, and if you put in Zapier and any two products, it has a dedicated page that shows you what all the triggers and actions are for both of those. And so if you look up Zapier and you look up Zoho and LinkedIn, you'll get a whole list of all the actions, of all of these triggers from Zoho and all these actions from LinkedIn, and they have a bunch of examples of that. That's worth exploring. I haven't dug into it, but that's worth exploring. So
it is.
That requires Zoho, though, right? Is that what you're saying, Scott, or is it maybe
those same actions in LinkedIn should be able to be triggered by anything else, or should be able to be triggered by anything else that has, anything else that Zapier has triggers for. So
I'm shocked by what you described to me, that you could push
Isaac, are you pulling it up? Are you verifying that's what the examples they have are?
Ulink and our other tools will send a message back and forth. They're doing virtual inboxes and stuff, so maybe they're taking advantage of that function.
Yeah.
My only concern with sending a message from CRM, if it's not a two-way sync, is sending the message without having, like, maybe somebody replied and I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And usually those use the normal LinkedIn message inbox because they're a little bit more loosey-goosey with the API for that than Sales Messaging API.
Ulink has a new trigger. They have 3 triggers. Ulink does, the campaign tool. One of them is now when someone connects, when you send a message, there's a trigger, and when you receive a message, there's a trigger through a webhook. There's 3 webhooks. So I've got partners that are exploring all 3. Well, Scott and I are with one client, with another one exploring all 3 different webhooks. So when a message comes in, you could, if you've got that trigger, you can shove that right on off into your CRM as well. I'm sure that can happen.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I'm really kind of astounded as many people. Does everybody else here get like 3 messages a day from people trying to sell you LinkedIn lead generation?
All the time. They ghost me every time. I'm like, hey, read my profile.
And I'm just kind of astounded that all of this. I mean, we have some of the LinkedIn best and brightest here, and I'm just astounded that this isn't just basically an already readily solved problem. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got to be experiencing this, And I just can't imagine that if we don't know about it in this group, that there's a bunch of these people who just have this problem solved. So I'm guessing they're just doing it by brute force, because that's, brute force with cheap offshore labor is the only way I see them.
That's what a lot of it is you just got these mills, I think, and I get the same thing, Scott. I get it probably 3 or 4 emails a day from people just saying, hey, would you like lead gen for your business? And if they can't speak specifically to our industry and what we do, they don't get us. And we talked about this last week. They don't get a second thought from me because, they're just a lot of them are just buying lists and drilling down, trying to find, influencers and contacts. I can do that myself.
I'm a marketing agent. Even the ones that come back that say they do lead gen for digital marketing agency, I'm a digital marketing agency. I know how to do lead gen. The only part of this that I need help with is actually a person on the phone. So, and those companies for the most part don't want to do that because they're making their margin off of selling the bundle deal, not off of the manpower of the person on the phone piece. So, but yeah, that's the part that I, that I'd hire on. If I could find the right person on a purely performance basis, I'd have them start tomorrow.
I got a phone call from a guy. I got plugged into their funnel somehow, and they left me 2 voicemails pitching me LinkedIn lead gen. And I'm just like, I know you got my information from LinkedIn. Didn't you put my profile in there? You called me on the phone.
It really doesn't. I mean, maybe it shouldn't surprise us, but it just maybe we just take it second nature that do some research before you pick up the phone, do some research before you drop a message, and get an idea whether this is going to be a fruitful opportunity for you or not. It just surprised me because it's just like they're just mass spamming at this point.
But this has been going on for years. It's just, and it just gets worse with the automation, and where they're just barfing out these messages. And like you, Isaac, I respond with, hey, did you look at my profile? And then you never hear from them again.
Yeah. Well,
and
that's
I just don't, I agree with you, Scott. There ought to be something that can be done that can stop this, but I don't think LinkedIn cares. A lot of people are leaving. I talk to a lot of people that just won't go back to LinkedIn anymore because it's so spammy.
But Mike and I are using, we're using automation with our campaign, but we scrub those lists. I mean,
right.
with the criteria, I gave her, I've got a VA pretty well trained on this, and she, off of the raw search results, for CEO, CFO, COO in the industry, she scrubbed from 770 down to about 500. So we're scrubbing a third of the raw search results as not being on target. And I don't think most people are doing that.
No, they're not. They're not, because it takes too much time, and they're sucked up into this technology stuff. But our LinkedIn searches have been running consistently 30% trash for 2 years now that we've been watching it.
Well, these aren't trash. These are a matter of LinkedIn, lack of ability to specify things in LinkedIn. The classic thing, right, is people who have 2 roles, and so we're looking for CEO at someone in healthcare with 51 to 500 employees, and they're a sales rep for some pharmaceutical company that some big pharmaceutical company, but they're also the CEO of,
their ice cream truck.
Their ice cream truck, right?
Or they're an independent contractor with a title of CEO, right?
Yeah, right. And but they're in, their day job is, some mid-tier thing at a company that's meets our criteria. Mm-hmm. But that inability to specify title at company,
There's a way to
right.
there's a way to fix that if you're willing to do it. You start with account-based search, and then you search for the title within the saved accounts. But then the prerequisite there in execution is your team member would have to, when they're either sending the connection request or the first message, make sure that it's right. Like you'll be able to hover over and see which account is saved, but that cleans up a lot of the mess.
In Scott's example, there would be 500 accounts for 500 people. I mean, these are all folks in different companies. There's no account-based approach in this example. But
we did the account-based search with Crunchbase, and that actually worked pretty well. So, and doing the account-based search with Crunchbase, we had much less scrubbing to do.
Cool. Yeah, when we were doing stuff with, like, if we're targeting nonprofit, specifically like a C3, we just do Boolean in the account search, only get C3s, and then save like 10,000 nonprofits. And then you can search for like board members within those saved accounts. And usually if someone's on the board, they also have other jobs. And so in that scenario, it's like you're actually targeting someone with multiple targets, multiple current roles. So that's been our go-to solution for that kind of thing, if it helps anybody else out here. Groovy, baby.
The first part, if you're doing a search, let's say it's got 1,000 people on it, you can't hit 1,000 anyway. You've got view profile, view profile, view profile on the last couple pages and stuff. We find about 10% of them. Once I scrape the list, I scrub, we tag the whole list, the whole 1,000. There's only 900 left. There's literally about 10% now that they're showing view profile on those last pages. So that's your first scrub. It's done for you.
Are those out of network? Is that where you can't view them?
Yeah, they're out of network. Yeah, that's right. They're the plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're usually pretty sparse profiles anyway. So.
Yeah, they're all they never have a picture. I mean, you know how that is. Hey, what are your thoughts on skipping people without pictures in campaigns? Yes or no, or explain it?
Definitely no. I can say with absolute certainty from our experience is that we get a lot of leads from people that have zero profile picture, but we also use the sales nav inbox. And I found that a lot of people reply, if they're not active on LinkedIn very often, they might have turned off their messaging notifications, but a sales nav message is sent like an in-mail. So the message goes to them. And I find that since it's more buried, I think that people that aren't on LinkedIn are more likely to get the email, because you're basically doing email marketing. And then they can directly reply from their phone. They can hit reply to your message in Sales Nav. And I think that might be a big factor in the no profile thing working for us. But for what it's worth,
notifications turned on though, right? I mean, the Sales Navigator can't override having notifications turned off in a
right. The Sales Navigator message is treated by LinkedIn as an in-mail, not a normal LinkedIn.
I get it, and the text appears and stuff. But if they have their settings turned off to not receive messages, they will not receive your Sales Navigator message, just like they will not receive your LinkedIn message, right?
No, they have to have turned off email messaging.
Oh, I get it.
Yep.
So the setting to turn off the Sales Navigator message would be the in-mail setting,
right?
Not the message setting.
Right.
I understand the difference now. Thanks, Isaac.
Yeah. But again, I think that might be a big reason why we get a lot of replies from like profiles with no headshot.
Yeah, I'd say oftentimes I think you have to think about the demographic as well. I look at some of our decision makers versus our influencers that are, how do I put this? They're more of a senior age demographic where they may not be as active on digital media or social media as their directors or their influencers are. And so sometimes you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt that, they may have a really nice headshot, but they don't think about putting it up on LinkedIn or on some of these other social media platforms. It's just not where they're active. They may be in their I hate to give an age, but you know where I'm headed with that. So,
yeah, if someone's 60,
turn off the viewing of your deal, as I know there is on the recipient side. I don't want to see people's heads at all. But is there a setting on our side to say, I'm going to upload a picture, but don't show it? You just take there isn't, is there?
Not for logged in state.
First level connections and not 2s and 3s?
Only, no, when they view your profile, you can only toggle that for your public profile, to my knowledge. Okay. Right? Anybody else? Am I mistaken there? I think it's just public profile toggle. Members logged in state can always see your headshot.
Yeah, it's just a public profile toggle.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought it was too, but you guys would know if it was otherwise.
Jared, what about in the Netherlands with the headshot? I'm curious to hear international.
The funny part is that people that don't have a headshot and are actually at sea level, when we target those people, they are more likely to respond than the people with a headshot, because they are not approached that much. So
interesting.
While we approach them, for them it's a new experience, so they will respond because they're curious.
Huh.
So that's the different thought about that. If they don't have a profile picture, I don't exclude them.
Yeah, that's great insight, Jer. That's great insight.
Just a slight tangent here in terms of kind of, this doesn't scale well, at least I don't know a solution to scale it well, but I'm wondering if anyone here has played with LinkedIn voice messages as a way to kind of break through the noise.
I haven't done voice, just video. What's your experience, Mike?
Not much. I frankly, I thought I was sending a video and I was sending an audio message. So I'm talking to my phone there, but an audio message that went out, I personally, if it's somebody you know and you're going back and forth, absolutely. I could leave Scott some details of my password and the login information and stuff. And I think it's really, really pretty secure. Like a voicemail message, you would sort of.
Well, someone left one for me, and I didn't even know that feature existed.
Yeah, you can only do it from the mobile app. Yeah,
and it really, really stood out.
Yeah,
it really stood out. Can I share another thing about breaking through the noise? Also, I had someone. I actually had someone from the Philippines who specializes in doing LinkedIn profile optimization. And, she messaged me and I couldn't tell how much she had how much she had really looked at my profile anyway, but it kind of stood out from the usual spam. And so I engaged her, and on the second message, she offered to do a Loom video of just kind of a quick overview of my profile. And that was super effective.
Yep.
That was, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I thought about using that as a technique, and I've actually tried it once, and I've got not one of these deals this week, but I've got another lead that, I just used that as an opportunity, even though they weren't talking about LinkedIn. I used that I kind of went through, because I'd engaged them on LinkedIn. I said, hey, let me just do you, just a favor. I know you're trying to market with LinkedIn. And I just went through and did like a 5-minute Loom video going through their LinkedIn profile. And I was like, this is so cool to be able to do this, because instead of spending 30 minutes on the phone trying to communicate with them, just be able to run through it on Loom in like 5 minutes and share that. So just, looking for ways to break through the noise. If you've got something you can do for them as a Loom video that creates value for them, it's actually less time consuming than a call, and can kind of set up that reciprocity thing too.
Absolutely. You cover more ground in less time too, as far as by the text, to be able to communicate that much information and earn that much trust by text exchange, it would take so much more time.
So I think too, the video on your phone stuff, I did not have in my little 10-person example. I had like 2 responses back. I was expecting quite a bit more, but Bryn Tillman apparently has really got it down. She says she's nailed it. And the key point, I just went through her 4-week program, and they're starting another one up. It's worth it, $300. You got to start out, make sure you look really excited
before that first frame.
Yeah. And that was the whole key from it is, you know, it's like, I got something, I gotta tell you, so that they feel like I gotta see what this person's got to say. It's that whole initial frame thing that had everything to do with it. And I don't think I paid enough attention to that initial frame. It's like, you know, so that was her example for it. And she's the smartest person in the world on LinkedIn, as far as I know. And so I listen to what she says. I'm gonna try it.
The Loom thing, I feel like, has been really good for us because you can use it in more than one place as well with just the link very easily. So what I'll have our clients do, okay, this becomes kind of utility, but if you can swing it, if you know that the person is a good prospect, I have them go to the prospect's website or wherever they see their branding and stuff. Go to their website, push record, make your headshot bigger, like there's the 2 size options. That way, when you share the Loom link, a GIF gets brought in and it starts being animated, and they're seeing, the lead is seeing, or the prospect is seeing their website or their whatever with your headshot, and it autoplays, and they're like, what? I've got to at least start this. And then Loom tells you when your video was watched. It's pretty darn cool. So I've become a really big fan of using Loom. Yeah, definitely worth it.
Great one, Isaac. Thank you for that.
Yeah. We've also got
someone to click on it. Just because it's there, getting it to their inbox is half the goal, but getting them to click on it and not scroll through, that, what you just described, is similar to these others kind of thing. You got it.
Yes, and then you can use the same video in an email as well if they don't reply. Just have the link.
There's a company that does. They're out of Colorado Springs, and it's gonna come to me. That does one of these little quick video things, and what the guy does is he holds up his whiteboard with the guy's name on it at the beginning, and it puts a like a GIF in, and he's like pointing to the clipboard. And so it's got their name in it like that, like click here, I got a message for you sort of thing, but it's this rotating GIF. It's not, so
sounds like kind of like Lemlist, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll think of it. But there's other ones in this category a little bit. The GIF part, is what was interesting, as opposed to the still frame sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a difference. You know what, Mike? 2 weeks ago, we switched for some of our internal initiatives as a test. We switched to adding the featured image that gets pulled in the inbox is a GIF related to the landing page, and the click through and the reply rate is way higher than when the static image gets pulled in.
A GIF is a featured image on a landing page.
Yeah. So okay, and it kind of depends on your whatever you're using for your website, right? So like we're using WordPress, and you can set a featured image, but if you set featured image, that doesn't guarantee that LinkedIn will use the featured image to pull in the preview. You have to go into like something that uses meta, like Yoast or whatever, and say this is the Facebook featured image. And then it'll show that in the inbox.
Use Rank Math.
Use what, Rank Math?
The Rank Math plugin. The Rank Math is the best. It's a completely free SEO plugin, and basically everyone's switching to it from Yoast these days.
Rank Math. I'm gonna type it in there. Cool. Yeah. So anyways, if you have the resources to create the animated GIF that's related to the landing page, that has worked really well for us. I was just like, this week it started like kick in where people are starting to see the link, and I'm just like, my inbox is getting blown up from signups, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I talked to my teammate Aubrey. I'm like, what is going on? Is it are the GIFs starting to go through, and she's like, yeah.
Does that show up and animate when it gets shared on social?
Yes, it sure does.
Can you show us an example of that? Isaac,
can you? But I haven't seen anybody do that. But
I'll show you here. I'll share my screen.
Yeah, share your screen. Show us an example of it. So are all the main channels using a GIF from the share side, or is it like LinkedIn using it, Facebook using it? Who's actually using that as a share image?
So what I have the same, sorry, I'm going to the posts. I'm using just the same thing, but it seems like right now only LinkedIn makes it animated that way.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, 1 second here. 3, 2. Whoops, let me make sure there's nothing.
And so do the other platforms just show the first frame?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Boom. All right, you see that? So this is what it looks like. This is like what it looks like in the news feed.
Okay, I've seen that, and I guess I just thought it was a video that could be played because you've got the you've got the video start button there.
Yeah. Yeah, and so what it does is, like, this is all just one GIF right here, and then this is the page title that gets pulled in.
And you're setting that in WordPress directly, or is it in the builder that you're using, or what do you use for your website?
This is on WordPress, and then I'm using the plugin Yoast to set the Facebook.
Okay.
Yoast doesn't have a LinkedIn featured image dedication section, just Facebook. So
LinkedIn just uses Open Graph. There's not a separate. There's not a separate notation. There's not a separate markup for LinkedIn. There is for Twitter, potentially if you want it.
So check this out. This is I was talking to Eric Holder. He's on the Hangouts frequently about this. I was like, do this. And so I had to give him an example. This is Eric's website, and this is me hovering over his website. And so this is how a Loom video brings in the GIF in the inbox. And then, like, if you can set it on your web page, the same exact thing happens.
I can see how this definitely has value if you're wanting to show that you have an expertise on a website or something like that. How would you incorporate this into more of a B2B that's not marketing related? Isaac, you have any thoughts on that? So, like, for example, for Rack 59, I don't go onto a potential prospect's website and say, hey, you could do this better with your website. I might look at their product list or their service list and say how how we could help support them in their. Have you thought through some of your clients and how they utilize something similar?
We actually tend to not work with marketing companies and web companies, and so same process. I think the most important thing there is that the recipient sees their branding with your face, and they know you can't fake that. You did it,
right,
and you recorded it.
They can tell at that point it's not spam. It's something unique to them. It's something that you spent time and energy on.
Yeah, exactly. And side note, if you send like the Loom link from the sales nav inbox, if that's what you're doing, the preview does not get pulled in for you as the sender, but the recipient gets it in the normal inbox, and for them, the GIF does get brought in. Just so if you do that and you don't see it and you're like, oh my gosh, just so you know. Plus, then they get it by email as well. Yeah.
Interesting.
Hey, Isaac, are you using Loom Individual or are you using Loom Pro?
Right now, Loom Individual, and then our clients would have Loom as well.
Okay, so you're using the basic free version then.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, when I signed up for it during COVID, and they were going nuts, and they let me do tons of videos, and now they're like pulling back the reins and saying you can only have so many. We use Loom, so like everyone here who owns owns a service-based company, we use Loom for our reports. And so what we'll do is we create the report, and I find that clients they're busy and they're like, eh. And so I actually do the video on Loom so that they have to watch the video to see the information. And then what that does is that service-based industries are very relational. And so that keeps the touch point there. I can explain our strategy last month, our strategy the month moving forward. It takes me 5 minutes, and it is way better than sending a PDF.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Do you use the standalone app, or do you just use the Chrome extension, or both?
I use a standalone app, and then I really like, I use Mac, and there's an app that I paid for called Cursor Pro that lets me like push the function key and it like zooms in on where my mouse is. It's like $5 one-time payment. I really found that helpful to be when you're communicate and explain things. Sorry, Alfred, did you have anything else on that? I totally went on a different tangent there.
When you send something through Loom, does it automatically, the picture automatically show up, or is it a clickable link? Because I'm getting lots of clickable links on LinkedIn now as an attachment to a message. And I'm really afraid of clicking onto any clickable links now, even video clickables, because there is so much malware out there.
If you're doing a Loom video, the GIF gets brought in automatically, and then to watch it, if they're on it'll open up a new tab. I think a long time ago you could watch it on desktop within the inbox if it was a link, but I think now you have to leave to watch it. Which is also, so Alfred, you make a good point where people are worried about security. If you're not going to do native video, you probably want to go the route of using a domain that everybody trusts.
Yeah, YouTube or something like that.
Yeah, I don't like doing Google, even like that said, like a Google Drive link or like the Microsoft's equivalent link. I feel like a little bit nervous to click those, even though I trust Google Drive. Just
yeah. A lot of those there's a lot of people that actually take and do the Google Drive and then have something in there that in turn is a spam link, and they're using that as a way to get through.
Yeah.
Or a phishing link, and they're using that as a way to kind of get past the filters.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, so I'd rather go to a video site than a document site.
Yeah. So customize your messages, put your face on there, make it animated, and use a trusted domain.
I think you got to test this stuff. I'd want to find somebody I already knew to test it before I tried it and wondered how it worked with the client. I'd want to know for sure.
Yep.
That's what ex-girlfriends are for,
Yeah, for sure.
I have her account.
That's funny.
She still works for me, but I can use her account for stuff.
Call those profiles with benefits.
I pay her. The benefits now. I don't have to, whatever.
Yeah. Well, we didn't really get to does your call to action suck, but this is more like, does your messaging suck? I really think that it's becoming, okay. So agency side, I feel like I see two camps. There's more heavy automation volume, less customization that will return a certain quantity of leads, and it's just like a math equation. The other camp is more, let's do things manually, more custom, takes more time, we'll do less volume, but they end up with the same quantity of leads. They're just doing less volume.
Sniper versus shotgun.
Yeah, it's just volume.
That's what we do, is that second way. And my feeling on that is that when you're doing mass outreach and you say, okay, well, we're only getting 8% reply or whatever it is, but we sent out so many, we've got enough people. But the opposite of the positive response. So if you're getting, 8% of people responded to you, 92% of people at best are ignoring you, and a number of them have put you in as a spammer. And I think there's danger to a personal brand when you take that approach.
Yeah, especially I think if you've got a product cycle that's a lengthy, a long product cycle where you need to make multiple contacts to find them in that buying phase, if you're consistently seen as this broad spectrum marketing effort, the time when they enter the buying phase or the phase where they might actually react to you, they've been so conditioned to ignore you that I agree. I think sometimes the sniper effect is more effective when you feel like, or if you can find information to find out if they're closer in that buying cycle or buying phase, it's more effective because they haven't been conditioned to ignore you.
Another factor, that is a good point. Another thing here too, just as a business owner, if you've got a list, one of my things is like, I would like to use, Susan, I'm going to borrow your language from when you shared runway opportunity, right?
Yeah.
If there's only 10,000 people on the list, I would rather milk that thing for as long as possible, right? Because doing a new campaign strategy, new messaging, new profile optimization is just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to deal with that. I would rather take that 10,000 list and work it as long as possible, get more leads, but make the list last longer as well. That's more profitable for me as a business owner.
There's middle ground. You can have some of each. You can customize and automate. I reworked. In fact, I don't know if you allow this. Yeah, you don't. So, can I share my screen for a quick sec, Isaac?
Yeah, here, I'll make you co-host.
I just got one slide I'm going to show. It's just
Absolutely. You may now share.
I can now share. I've revamped our campaign stuff for new clients, and I'm retrofitting it for existing ones. Right here. This is it. So we do a hybrid campaign where we automate the connection request, but the welcome message afterwards is fully customized, fully custom. And the messaging in the connector campaign is specific to the industry: manufacturing talk, medical talk, whatever talk you want to be. But it's canned. Then the welcome message is very specific, and they spend 5 minutes looking at stuff. But if they don't respond, they go on a different campaign, and that's my drip message campaign. So I build two campaigns with this.
Yeah,
in the middle here. That's the only thing that's manual. Of course, anytime you can jump in and do what you want, but that's how I'm re-engineering from. It was fully automated to putting this little piece in the middle. So we'll see how it goes. I'm implementing my first ones like this, so I'll report back how it goes. But it's a little bit of both. I guess that's my point.
I feel like if you are going to use automation, I feel like the best place to get away with it would be the connection request. If it's awesome, if your headline, like if it's a good target audience where they would want to know you, if you've got the search or your target list to where you've got maybe common ground that you can mention in, or a unique value prop you can mention in the connection request at scale, I feel like that would be, if you're going to do automation, maybe worth it.
Well, afterwards, if you want to drip content out to people, am I going to manually drip content out to people, over time? I don't see a sense in doing that. I just see maybe a couple swipes, there could be a welcome message and another message after. I mean, you could put a couple in the middle, but eventually, if they don't respond to that,
the dripping content out makes sense to automate too, as long as you are manually picking the people that it shouldn't go to.
Yeah, well, we scrub our list just like that, Scott. We do the list scrub pretty deep, and probably 30% do scrub out of the list. But anyway, that was just something I'll let you know. I have to do twice as much work. I have to do 2 campaigns for each client, twice as many documents, specific to every industry.
Yeah, we'll have a Google Doc where there's like the no reply, intentional, move the conversation forward, and then there's the anticipated replies and where we want that all to go as well. Replies, objections, all mapped out so that we can just hop over to the Google Doc tab, and then the team can reply and then customize it for whatever they're saying. Yeah, it's a lot of work, especially in the beginning, which is why I want to make the most of a runaway opportunity, because it takes a lot of time to map that all out. All right, should we wrap it up? We're 1 minute shy in the hour. All right, okay.
Right.
All right, we're gonna land this thing like a duck hitting the water, fast and ugly. See y'all.